Over the years, since 1967, I spent a lot of time with Tom Gould. We became close in the fraternity days when Boyd Buchanan, Denny Barnes, Bill Binder, Tom, and I became kind of a loose garage-type band. We had a lot of fun covering tunes by the Beatles, Crosby, Stills, Nash, The Animals, and many others. We also attended concerts together. I even roomed with Tom for a semester in the fraternity house. That was the spring of 1970. We were in the uppermost room on the third floor. Tom was the house manager that semester and did an outstanding job in that capacity. He was a very organized individual. It was no surprise to me that he became a success in the banking world. My only spring break to Florida was to Daytona that same spring. I went with Tom, Denny, Boyd, and Ken McCoy. It was the stuff of legend. When my parents were unable to come to CMU for Parents' Weekend in 1970, Tom insisted I join him as more than a fraternity brother and be a part of his family. It was wonderful. Before the weekend was over, Tom's father, a banker in Trenton, offered me a job at his bank. While I didn't choose to take that career path, I've never forgotten the acceptance by the entire Gould family. When I had been gone from Central following the spring 1970, I would still come back for visits in 1971. Tom, who had played the field for so long, began excitedly telling me about the first dates he'd had with a great girl named Kathy Beals. From his description, you just knew this was the real deal and that Kathy was the one. Their married life for 47 years as best friends was one for the books as they made their life in Grosse Ile, Michigan. In the years since we all left Central, Tom and Kathy became avid sailors. In the late 1970s and early 80s, Boyd, Denny, Ernie, Dave Nethers, and I joined Tom in sailing across Lake Erie from their home on Grosse Ile. It was an annual stag weekend event at Put-in-Bay, Ohio. More stuff of legend. The late Dan Miller even joined us for one of those events. Tom and Kathy would also host us with our wives for evening dinner sails to Duffy's Tavern and for Christmas parties. During those sailing years, Tom, Denny, Ernie, and Boyd began joining Dave Nethers and me for November deer hunting adventures out of my 12 by 16 foot tar paper shanty in Michigan's Northwoods. Tom and Boyd became regulars into hunting camp and continued to come north annually until I sold the camp a few years ago. Tom would always have his guitar, and we would usually sing some of the old songs and tunes that we did in the fraternity days. He even typed up a large file of song lyrics which included the chords for me when I bought a guitar and was learning to play. While hunting, we all carried two-way radios to maintain contact. Tom's radio handle was Bird Dog, a moniker that was hung on him in the early fraternity days by Bill Bender for Tom's way of flirting with our dates. Even more stuff of legend. My last visit with Tom and Kathy was at a 2017 Tiger game at Comerica Park attended by the Nethers, Barnes, Wakeleys, Pollocks, Gearys, and Buchanans. Learning that Tom had been ill for some time brought with it a realization. I'm thinking that must be why he didn't return or respond to my Christmas message of 2017. I knew the Goulds had a condo in Myrtle Beach. I let Tom know that Cindy and I would be there in Myrtle Beach for January and February of 2018 and suggested we plan some get-togethers. It was not to be. It saddens me to know that Tom was probably suffering and very likely didn't want to be seen or remembered as such. I can't say I would react any differently. I've had some nice conversations with Kathy since Tom passed, and I regret not having called her this year. She was a wonderful lady and a heck of a lot of fun to be with. So I'll say goodbye to you two dear old friends, Tom and Kathy. If you're listening, know that the many, many memories I have of you are very good ones. Until we get to harmonize again, So long, Tom and Kathy.